Welcome to Travel Secrets with me, Tanya Rose, the podcast sharing wisdom for fellow travellers. Each week, I ask my guests to reveal their 6 travel secrets and the trips and holidays that uncover them. My guest today is my wonderful friend, Whitney Hawkings, founder of FLOWERBX, the net-a-porter of flowers. I use them all the time, and everyone I send always says to me, who is that company? I need to use them. We met in 2016 when you just launched FLOWERBX, and we talked about hotels and how you could work with hotels. I am so delighted that you now partner with so many hotels around the world, as well as loads of luxury brands and restaurants. You are sensational. Whitney was born in Dallas, Texas, has traveled the world, working for Tom Ford for 20 years from EA, where she worked her way up to Senior Vice President of Comms. She lived in Paris. She travels to Holland all the time to buy her wonderful flowers, and holidays all over the world. Welcome, lovely Whitney. I am so delighted to have you on Travel Secrets.
What an introduction. I'm so happy to be here. And I have to say, you were probably the earliest adopter of FLOWERBX and understood immediately what I was trying to do. So I always have a soft spot for you for championing me and FLOWERBX from the beginning.
Well, before we go into your travel secrets, maybe you could tell us a bit about travel and how it has formed the person you are and FLOWERBX before we actually go into those secrets.
Absolutely. So my first trip, I grew up in Dallas, Texas. My first trip to Europe, I was lucky, was when I was 12 years old, and I came with my mom. And I think that was the most formative trip of my entire life. I went to Paris and I fell madly in love. I knew immediately, it was instantaneous, that I was going to live in Paris. I wanted to be a French woman. I wanted to wear black and wear dark eyeliner and smoke cigarettes and tie a scarf around my neck. But it was literally immediate. It was a coup de foudre. And that led me sort of the next 6 years. I did a year abroad. Then I went to Columbia University in New York, studied French literature, all with a view of moving to Paris. That was it.
That's amazing.
Then my grandparents gave me graduation money when I graduated. And I used that graduation money to buy a one-trip ticket to Paris. And that was it. And then in Paris, pounded the pavement. I wanted to work at French Vogue, but they unfortunately were not hiring. They did not want to hire me. And I serendipitously got the job as Tom Ford's PA at Gucci at that moment, which was all my Christmases come at once. And that led to sort of my entire career. So travel, that one trip to Paris, and around Europe when I was 12, literally formed the rest of my entire life.
How long were you in Paris?
So I stayed there for about 10 years and lived there. I had an advantage because I spoke fluent French, and only moved to London when Tom left Gucci. When he was sort of left Gucci and Saint Laurent, moved to London. I was then in love with a British guy. So it made perfect sense. I was like, sure, I'll follow you. So moved to London then sort of 10 years later.
How fantastic. And when you worked for Tom, I know you told me that flowers were so important, of him receiving flowers and sending flowers out, and they were never really right, which gave you your idea.
Yeah. So in fashion, and in luxury, flowers are sort of a currency, and everyone speaks in flowers. It's what you send says so much about you, the size of what you send, the color, the quality, who you send with. It really is a signifier of who you are, and especially in fashion. So you would see the morning of the fashion show, you would see Mucha's flowers come in for Tom, and they were always pale pink roses. Then you would see Calvin Klein's flowers come in. They were always white calla lilies, all single stem bunches, all super clean, super chic. Then you would see Anna Wintour's flowers were white roses, no filler, no greenery, just beautiful, chic white roses. So I was like, how come all these fabulous, fashionable, amazing, chicest people in the whole world know that this is the most elegant way to consume flowers? Yet all of the florists were sort of throwing all that crap together, and you never sort of knew what you were going to get.
Yeah, and that's what's so wonderful about your single stems. It's so chic, it's so elegant. They look amazing. And as I said, I use it all the time and everybody loves them. So congratulations.
Thank you, Tanya.
Let's get into your travel secrets. So what is the number one destination that you think everyone should go to once in their lifetime?
So for me, it was Paris. Paris was the first sort of love I had of foreign travel. And even now, after living there and suffering the French for many, many years, I mean, when I go to Paris, just the light in Paris, the light off the river, the buildings, the materials used, the smells, the food, the people, it's just, to me, the most elegant and beautiful and magical city in the world. I think also when you were sort of broke somewhere and you really discovered it's not about the things, it's not about being able to go to fancy restaurants or, stay in the nicest hotels, but really just being sort of a broke student in Paris and just buying a baguette, a bottle of wine, an avocado. And that was sort of all you needed to be happy in Paris. It's like that Hemingway sort of, being poor and happy in Paris.
It's so true. And the parks and things are just so beautiful. You can take your baguette with your camembert and sit there in the Tuileries Gardens and just have a lovely day, can't you?
Exactly.
I spent 3 years in Paris. I absolutely loved it. Do you have a favorite restaurant in Paris that's not necessarily one that, is a Michelin star restaurant, but just a local bistro or something like that you go to?
Yeah, I'm like sort of broken record. I'm sort of very much like Café de Flore and Brasserie Lipp, really classic. You can go there, get a beautiful salad, beautiful bottle of wine, and it's perfect.
Yeah, I love L'Ami Louis.
Have you been there?
That's
I
a fantastic
love
restaurant.
L'Ami Louis. I remember when I was there, President Clinton, this was when I was living there, and President Clinton went there. It was right after the Monica Lewinsky trial. And then I remember that's all anyone talked about was L'Ami Louis for that whole sort of decade.
Shame.
I know.
It's a lovely restaurant.
It really is.
A lovely restaurant that I love in Paris, which is actually quite commercial now, is the bistro that's in the Jack Nicholson film, Something's Got to Give. It's called the Grand Colbert. It's actually lovely. You must go there. It's fabulous. Really one to go to.
Been.
Yeah, you must go. So travel secret number 2. What's the most unexpected travel experience that you've ever had?
I thought a lot about this because actually the most unexpected travel, the things that happen when you're traveling are often the best. I went when my husband and I were just engaged, and my grandfather took us and my 3 brothers on safari, which I think for everyone who goes on safari for the first time, it's such a transformative, life-changing experience because it's unlike anything anyone's ever done. And I remember we were taking this small plane to the game reserve where we were staying, and the plane like kept circling and circling. And I was like, oh my gosh, something's wrong. And we're like, we were all like a bit nervous because it was one of those teeny tiny planes, and the pilot was a local, and he's like, there's a rhinoceros on the runway. And you're like, what? Like, this is crazy. And you're like, especially when you'd never experienced anything like that. So then we land and we're like driving, and then the driver sort of stops in his Jeep, and you hear this like thud, thud, thud. Again, we're just like in the middle of nowhere. And then like this giraffe just sort of walks in front of the car. And it felt like we were in Jurassic Park or some like crazy movie. So that was really just magical.
Which game reserve did you go to?
Masai Mara.
Oh, lovely.
Yes, so
Very
beautiful.
Nice. Yeah, that's the sort of out of Africa one, isn't it, where they migrate?
Exactly.
And did you do a flying safari as well?
We didn't.
Yeah, that's meant to be incredible.
I'll save that one for doing
I actually
it with
want
my
to
kids.
go back on a safari because I did not see leopard. I saw, they say the big 5. I only saw 4, and leopard is very difficult to find. So I want to go back to South Africa or somewhere and do another safari.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
I want to go with my kids too, because I feel like it's one thing that you can do with a family where the families actually can all sit together all day and really be in the moment together. So it's quite magical.
We look after the Saxon Hotel in Johannesburg.
I stayed there.
Did you? It's fabulous. And the guy who owns
fabulous.
that owns a private game reserve called Shambhala, which is being redone and is reopening next year. And it's where Nelson Mandela had his private house and where he wrote The Long Walk to Freedom.
We went to the house.
Did
too.
you?
It was so cool. Yeah. Yes. On our way back to the UK, we stopped in Johannesburg and stayed at the Saxon and went to the house. And it was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, wonderful. So let's do travel secret number 3. What is the most overrated travel experience that you've ever had?
So my husband and I, this was right before we got married. So it was like our pre-moon, and we'd saved up all this money, and we were going on this pre-moon to French Polynesia, which everyone had said was so amazing, especially in America. People, like, so many people go to French Polynesia. It's like Hawaii, and it's supposed to be the most exotic, most fabulous. It was terrible. It rained. Like, we stayed in a really nice place. We were in those little huts on the water, that are so photogenic and look so dreamy. But there were sharks literally everywhere.
So
we couldn't swim. So you're like, okay, great. So what are we going to do? Then it rained. Like, obviously one can't control the weather, but in the roofs of these little huts lived cockroaches. So when it rained, they fell. So they were like falling onto the mosquito nets, which is my idea of hell. I mean, it was like literally the most, I was like we had to like drink wine during the day just to like get through this holiday. Yeah. And then they didn't have any fresh fish because, I mean, you would think it was all sort of frozen mahi and and then like burgers, because Americans sort of those resorts where a lot of Americans go, they have like burgers and pizza. You're like, I didn't fly all the way around the world to eat burgers and pizza.
Is French Polynesia where the Brando resort is that was Marlon Brando's? I think it is. And
I don't
that
know.
is actually meant to be really lovely if that is in French Polynesia.
Maybe we stayed at the wrong place. I mean, I'm sure we were misadvised, but it was also when you have so much expectation for a trip and then it's so disappointing, then it's almost insulting. If
cockroaches were falling on my head, I would have a heart attack. I would have had a heart attack.
Yes.
Not great, no. Travel secret number 4. Food and drink is so important in life to all of us, and I know that you're a big foodie. Where have you had your best meal, or some of the best restaurants, or the best cocktail, or the best new bar, or anywhere in the world? Just let's talk about food.
Well, you and I think, share a favorite restaurant. And it's so hard because everywhere you go, you always go back to the River Cafe. And it really is my favorite place in the world, even better than anywhere I've been in Italy. Any of my, it just, everything about it is magical. But when I was pregnant with my 3rd child, we went to Positano, and it was that early part of pregnancy, so no one else knew, but I was so hungry. And going to Italy when you're newly pregnant and very hungry, everything, your sort of senses are so heightened. And we stayed at the Sirenuse, which is just magical as a hotel. And I just remember having pasta with tomato sauce, which is my favorite meal in the world.
Mine too.
Just the most simple, when it's done well, perfectly al dente, the perfect, most amazing tomato sauce. And it was literally one of the best meals. But I think it was also heightened by the fact that I was so ravenous. And
but
it was
the Sirenuse is a gorgeous hotel as well.
I mean, that breakfast there, that breakfast spread, you're like, is this, and as a pregnant person, it's heaven, because you're like, oh my gosh, this is like, the breakfast is like 10 meals all at once.
Did you meet the owners, the Cesali family?
I did. We were actually there for Natalie Massenet's 50th birthday party. So we sort of, the whole group took over the hotel, and the owners were part of a lot of the events. They were awesome.
So, and the wife, Antonio's wife, has the most amazing shop. I don't know if you went to the shop.
Yeah, across the street.
It's amazing.
So chic, no?
So chic. You want to buy everything in it. It's absolutely, I mean, actually, that really is a travel secret. If you go to,
absolutely,
you don't need to even stay there, but go to the shop. The shop is absolutely fantastic.
I did. I bought a little dress there that I still have. It was fabulous.
And then the River Cafe, as you say, is both of our favorite restaurants, and Ruthie is just fantastic. So every meal there is just a sensation.
But you go around Italy and you're like, still not as good as River Cafe, because the ravioli is just so thin, and it's also all served with so much love. And there's so much soul in all the food at the River Cafe.
She was so interesting on the podcast, because I asked her where her favorite meal was, and she said that Richard and her had gone to Florence. And they found
the bruschetta.
The bruschetta just with olive oil, and it just so simple but so lovely. And that she took that back and thought, right, simplicity is the thing. Absolutely wonderful. We'll all be hot-footing it back to the River Cafe. Let's do travel secret number 5. What is your best insider travel secret?
Well, going back to what I said earlier about being broke in a city, you really get to know a city a lot more than if you go and stay in a fancy hotel and only see tourists and only do touristy things and go to the touristy restaurant. So I think it's almost pretending like, whether it's staying in renting a house, I think going to the markets is key. Doing the shopping is key. That's how you see how the people live. So going to the Italian markets, buying, the food that's in season, seeing what Italian people are, just listening to them telling you what the best herb is in season, et cetera. I think that's almost pretending like going back to the basics when you visit a city. And then I think also just chatting to anyone, chat to the driver, chat to the taxi driver, and not the fancy hotels, chat to the people. Where do you go for dinner? What's your favorite sunset? And they have such a better insight usually then, because I feel like the hotels tell you what
they want.
Yeah, what people at home do, but I don't really want to know what people at home do. I want to know
you
what
want
the
to get under
locals
the
do.
Skin of the destination. That's
exactly
always the best way to travel, I think. Absolutely. And hotel concierges are getting much better at it. And obviously doing PR for hotels, it's something that we really talk to them about, saying it's not just about the hotel now, it is about the destination. And people want to go somewhere which will help them understand that destination. So travel secret number 6. What is a memory from a holiday or a trip that is still poignant for you now?
I have so many poignant memories. And I've also been recently traveling a lot and to new places. My husband has a new role. He's now the creative director at Tom Ford. So he's been traveling on a lot of really amazing new places for us to do, whether it's campaign shoots or for work. And I've been lucky enough to travel, to tag along and discover. I went to China last month for the first time ever, went to Shanghai, and I was so blown away, really, by, first of all, the newness of it, because the discovery of travel is everything, discovering an entire culture, country, food, way of life that you just have never seen before is quite amazing. And also, I think when you have smaller kids, which I've had for the past sort of decade, I've been less adventurous. I did always travel with them, but you had to work around their school holidays and had to be more mindful of time zones and jet lag, et cetera. But now they're like my best friends and our best friends. So traveling with them and discovering even places I've been before. Last year, I had to go to LA for work. And I, at last minute, just said to my son, who was 13 at the time, I was like, I'm just taking you out of school. You're coming with me. Because I was feeling really sad about leaving him and feeling really sad about leaving my family. So I took him, stayed at the Beverly Hills Hotel, him just discovering LA, because he's a little British boy, like the American breakfast at the bar in the morning.
The Polo Lounge.
Yeah, the Polo Lounge. He was just fantastic. Like, this is, and like him in Beverly Hills, he was like, the cars and all of that. Just rediscovering places through them has been quite amazing.
Where did you go recently, other than Shanghai, with your husband that you hadn't been before?
Oh, this was so cool. We went, this ties into my picture. We went Christmas. He was shooting the ad campaign in Rio. And the kids were off school, and he's like, why don't you guys come? And I was like, you know what? Why not? It's also quite nice to be both of us our own bosses now for the first time, because you can say, you know what? Fuck it. Like, why not? So the kids came. Unfortunately, very sadly, one of my sons was still at boarding school, so he couldn't come. But we went to Rio. Rio, everyone says, is magical. It is magical. Just, I think, the way the whole life is outdoors, the way people are exercising, dancing, everything's outside, and the music, and we just all fell completely in love with it.
How fantastic. And do you have a special place that you go to with your kids every year on holiday, or do you go to different places every time?
We usually end up in Italy. So all around Italy. We've been going to Sicily a few times, but we're all like, we love Italian food. We love the Italian culture. I speak Italian. They're so nice. They're such a generous, group of people. I mean, we went to Greece last year and loved it, but I think our hearts are Italian.
And hotels or homes?
Homes. We usually rent a villa, and because that way the kids can bring friends and we can be at home.
Just be a bit more relaxed.
Exactly.
So I asked you to bring a photograph which sums up travel to you or a special experience for you, and you just alluded to it. So can you show us the photo and just tell us a little bit about what that means to you?
Yeah, so as I said, sadly, one of my sons is missing from here, which makes me very sad, but it's the most recent poignant memory I have. And we were, as I mentioned, my husband was shooting the ad campaign, and we were on top of this rooftop in Rio. So you overlooked literally the entire, Copacabana beach, that whole beach. It was the most perfect day, like a day like today in London, literally not a cloud in the sky. And we were with our, all the kids. Oh, and then they were shooting the helicopter shot, which I'm not sure if you've seen in the ad campaigns, but they shot from this rooftop the model hanging out of a helicopter who flew by. So they were shooting it from the rooftop. Then there was another helicopter shooting one from a helicopter. So it was like, I think the excitement of the kids being in this place, the magic of Rio, the whole culmination of all of it. Sorry, Baron, you weren't there. We missed you. But so that picture sort of sums up to me that feeling. And it's really just the discovery of travel that sort of represents for me.
How amazing. Baron, you'll get to go somewhere.
I will
Your
take you.
Your mum will take you somewhere
promise.
Fabulous. I promise you. She will not leave you out. But thank you so much, Whitney. It's been a joy and a delight talking to you. Thank you so much for sharing your travel secrets with me.
Thank you so much for having me. I want to sit here. I want to interview you. Someone needs to do a podcast with all of your travel secrets, because you have the most. Someone needs to reverse it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.